It was January 26th, 1966, Australia Day. A scorching hot, picture-perfect summer morning in Adelaide, South Australia. The kind of day where the air was thick with the smell of sunscreen and the sound of laughter. Glenelg Beach, a sprawling stretch of golden sand, was bustling. Families lounged on towels, kids splashed in the shallow waves, and the scent of sizzling barbecues drifted on the warm breeze. It was a beloved, familiar spot for locals, a quintessential slice of the Australian dream. Among the crowds were the Beaumont children. Jane, 9 years old, the eldest, smart, responsible, a natural leader. Her little sister, Arnna, 7, sweet-natured and usually following Jane's lead. And then there was 4-year-old Grant, the youngest, full of boundless energy but still very much reliant on his older sisters. Their mother, Nancy Beaumont, had raised them well. They were polite, knew how to look out for each other, and were accustomed to a degree of independence. The walk from their home to Glenelg Beach was only about 5 minutes, a route they'd taken countless times. On this particular morning, Nancy gave them permission to make that short trip to swim and play. "Be back by 12 p.m., she instructed. It was a common, trusted routine, a simple, carefree moment of childhood freedom. No one, not the parents, not the children, not a single soul on that busy beach, had any reason to suspect that anything was amiss. But 12 p.m. came, and the children weren't home. By 12:15 p.m., Nancy felt a tiny, familiar knot of worry tighten in her stomach. By 1 p.m., when their father, George Beaumont, returned home, that tiny knot had exploded into sheer gut-wrenching terror. They scrambled out, frantically searching the neighborhood, then the beach. The laughter and the sunlight now seemed like a cruel mockery. No one they spoke to, no beachgoer, no neighbor, had seen anything immediately alarming. The children were simply gone. The alarm bells rang, first locally, then across the entire country. The disappearance of the Beaumont children instantly exploded into one of the largest and most desperate search operations in Australian history. Glenelg Beach, once a scene of joyous celebration, transformed into a frenzied hub of activity. Thousands of volunteers, police officers, and emergency services personnel swarmed the area, meticulously scouring every inch of sand, every rock pool, every dune. The sea itself was dragged, the skies searched from above. It was an unprecedented effort, fueled by a collective sense of dread. The case immediately dominated every headline across Australia. The shocking innocence of Jane, Arnna, and Grant, coupled with their vanishing in broad daylight on a crowded beach, sent shockwaves through the entire nation. A palpable, suffocating fear spread among parents everywhere. If this could happen in a place so seemingly safe, to children so well behaved, then no one was safe. In the initial chaos, a few key eyewitness accounts emerged, hinting at strange interactions. A local mailman recalled seeing the children walking alone towards the beach around 10:15 a.m. Later, a group of teenagers claimed to have seen them walking away from the beach around 12:15 p.m. But it was another recurring detail that became the central, most unsettling piece of evidence: the tall blond man. Multiple witnesses, considered highly reliable, reported seeing the Beaumont children interacting with or being accompanied by a tall, blonde-haired man. He was estimated to be in his late 30s, with a slender build, and wore blue swimming trunks. He was seen near the beach, casually engaging with the kids. This man was even observed doing something incredibly unusual. He was playing with the children and even helping them buy meat pies and drinks. This was a red flag the size of Australia itself, because the Beaumont parents had explicitly, strictly, forbidden their children from ever accepting gifts or treats from strangers. The fact that Jane, Arnna, and Grant, known for their obedience, were seemingly comfortable enough to break this rule suggested something truly sinister. Either this man possessed an incredibly charismatic, almost hypnotic influence, or, far more chillingly, he was someone the children already knew, someone they had perhaps encountered before, out of their parents' sight. Some witnesses also reported seeing an orange car parked suspiciously near the beach around the time of the disappearance. But like so many other fleeting clues, no concrete evidence ever directly linked that vehicle to the children or the mysterious blonde man. Despite the unprecedented scale of the search, absolutely no trace of the children was ever found. No clothing, no footprints, no bodies, nothing. It was as if Jane, Arnna, and Grant had simply vanished into thin air, swallowed by the seemingly innocent summer's day. As days turned into weeks, the hope of finding the Beaumont children alive began to dim, replaced by a grim determination to uncover the truth. But the investigation was plagued by unsettling discrepancies and strange, almost taunting clues. The mailman, a crucial early witness, became a focal point of confusion. He had initially claimed to have seen the children walking alone towards the beach at 10:15 a.m. But later, he altered his statement, now claiming he had seen them with the blond man between 11 a.m. and 11:45 a.m. He described the children as looking remarkably comfortable, even jovial, with the man joking around with him. This shift in testimony immediately raised questions. Was he simply confused? Was his memory playing tricks? Or, more darkly, was he initially hesitant to reveal something he later deemed significant, perhaps even trying to protect someone or himself? Similarly, a group of teenagers who claimed to have seen the children with the blond man and the orange car later retracted their statement, further muddying the already murky waters. Then came a chilling, almost cruel detail. Days after the children vanished, a single donut, one of the children's favorites, was found in the Beaumonts' backyard. No one in the family had purchased it. Nancy Beaumont, their heartbroken mother, speculated that it might have been left by the abductor, a twisted, mocking gesture, or perhaps even a hidden message. The thought that the perpetrator might have been so close to their home, taunting them with a discarded piece of food, was utterly terrifying. A year after the disappearance, in 1967, the agony was compounded by the arrival of two anonymous letters at the Beaumont home. One, purportedly from Jane, claimed that all three children were being held by a man and two women, and that they were happy. The second, allegedly from the abductor, chillingly stated he was willing to return the children if George and Nancy met him at a specific location. The distraught parents, desperate for any hope, followed the instructions, but at the rendezvous point, no one appeared. Police suspected these were cruel hoaxes, possibly even from the original blond man playing a sick game, and largely dismissed them. A decision that, in hindsight, would forever leave the grieving family wondering what might have been. One of the most terrifying theories revolved around pre-sizing. Nancy later recalled a chilling detail. Weeks before the disappearance, 4-year-old Grant had innocently asked his mother if he and his sisters could go play with the man at the beach. This suggested a horrifying possibility. The blond man might not have been a random stranger. He could have been frequenting Glenelg Beach for some time, meticulously building trust with the children, slowly, patiently, preparing for the abduction. This premeditation, this calculated grooming, added a layer of predatory horror to an already unspeakable crime. Comparisons were also drawn to other unsettling child disappearances in Australia around the same period, like the vanishing of Christine Sherrick and Marianne Schmidt in Sydney in 1965. This sparked terrifying speculation. Was a serial predator operating across states, preying on children, heightening the pervasive public fear? The Beaumont case was no longer just a local tragedy. It was a symptom of a deeper, darker current flowing beneath the surface of Australian society. Decades passed, but the haunting questions surrounding the Beaumont children's disappearance refused to fade. The case became an enduring obsession, and over the years, several prominent suspects emerged. Figures from the past who were scrutinized, investigated, but never definitively linked to the crime, leaving behind a legacy of unanswered questions and lingering shadows. One of the most prominent suspects was Harry Phipps. A local businessman and a known convicted pedophile, Phipps owned property just a block from Glenelg Beach. His very presence in the vicinity was chilling. In 2013, a cold case review identified Phipps as a strong suspect. He fit the physical description of the mysterious blond man seen with the children. Adding to the suspicion, a witness claimed to have seen children resembling the Beaumonts entering Phipps's property with him on the day of the disappearance. Phipps was known to host children's art classes at his house, a plausible, yet deeply sinister reason for children to be comfortable going with him. The belief in his potential involvement was so strong that in 2018, police conducted a major excavation on a factory site once owned by Phipps after georadar suggested a disturbance in the ground. The hopes were immense, but ultimately no remains were found. However, the intensity of the search underscored the enduring conviction among many that Phipps held the key to the mystery. Phipps himself passed away in 2004, denying any involvement to his dying day. Yet in a later, chilling interview, his son claimed his father had confessed to him on his deathbed that he was indeed involved in the children's disappearance. This confession remains unverified, a disturbing whisper from beyond the grave. Another long-standing suspect was Arthur Stanley Brown, a convicted child killer and pedophile with a history of abducting children in Victoria, Australia. After his death, an incredibly eerie detail came to light. A sketch of the Beaumont children, drawn from memory by Brown, was found. The sketch eerily matched a police artist's impression of the children. This chilling artistic confession, coupled with his known horrific crimes, made him a strong person of interest. However, his alibi for the day of the disappearance remained shaky and was never fully confirmed, leaving another tantalizing yet unproven link. Throughout the decades, the investigation was also plagued by a relentless stream of false leads, including numerous psychic readings and false confessions. Each one offered a fleeting glimmer of hope to Nancy and George Beaumont, only to brutally dash it, amplifying their anguish and turning their lives into an unending cycle of renewed hope and crushing despair. The most heartbreaking aspect of this enduring mystery is the parents' enduring grief. Nancy and George Beaumont never gave up hope. They never moved from their home, clinging to the agonizing hope that their children, now grown adults, would one day return to the familiar doorstep. They passed away without answers, their lives forever defined by the relentless, heartbreaking search for their lost children. Their unwavering dedication, their silent suffering, added a profound human element to this truly strange, dark, and mysterious tale, making it resonate with every parent across the globe. The case of the Beaumont children remains officially unsolved, an open wound in the collective memory of Australia. No arrests have ever been made, and the true fate of Jane, Arnna, and Grant remains agonizingly unknown. They simply vanished, leaving behind a void that no investigation has been able to fill. The Beaumont case irrevocably changed Australian society. Before 1966, it was common for children to have a degree of freedom that seems unimaginable today. Parents allowed their kids to walk to school, play in parks, and even visit beaches unsupervised. The Beaumont disappearance shattered that perceived sense of innocence and safety. It sparked a widespread societal shift. Parents became far more vigilant, and children were no longer allowed the same freedoms. It marked a grim turning point in public awareness of child safety, forever altering the landscape of Australian childhood. Glenelg Beach itself became associated with an unspoken dread, almost a Glenelg curse. What happened there fundamentally altered the perception of public spaces, transforming a place of joyful recreation into a site of enduring mystery and chilling questions. In recent years, the hope for a definitive answer has flickered with advancements in DNA technology. While the original crime scene yielded limited forensic evidence suitable for modern DNA analysis, the possibility always remains that new techniques, or a break in another cold case connected to a potential perpetrator, could finally shed light on what happened to the Beaumont children. The technology exists, the possibility is there, but the evidence, frustratingly, remains elusive. The story concludes with the profound ambiguity and the haunting nature of the case. Jane, Arnna, and Grant simply vanished in broad daylight in front of witnesses, leaving no trace. The question of what truly happened to them on that hot summer day continues to echo across the decades, a persistent whisper on the wind. Glenelg Beach, once a place of sun-drenched joy, forever holds the chilling secret of the Beaumont children, a permanent scar on the landscape of Australian history. The terror lies not just in their disappearance, but in the complete, chilling silence that followed, a silence that has left an entire nation to forever wonder what happened to Jane, Arnna, and Grant, and who the mysterious blond man truly was. The answers remain buried, perhaps beneath the sands of time, or perhaps with a killer who walked away clean.